Welcome everyone, I'm Yvonne Pointer and this is TV 20, and of course we are celebrating Women's History Month, and today I am so excited and honored to have one of our heroes, Yvonne Pointer, nationally known Cleveland anti-violence activist, author, motivational speaker, philanthropist, and a member of the Ohio Women's Hall of Fame. And I can go on and on and on. I have about 30 pages of accolades and awards. Can't get through them all, but she is my hero and yours. We've heard your story many times, and even 1,000 to 100,000 times is not enough. Yeah. And welcome to TV 20.
Well, I'm so grateful to be here. I feel like this is home, and thank you, TV 20, for having me. And every time I read my bio, I'm like, who is that they're talking about? Because you're right, it is about 30 pages. Right. But I say to God be the glory. Mm-hmm.
And you have some history with it. You used to work for the city?
Yeah,
also?
Yeah. Retired from the city. A faithful city employee, loved my job, worked for community relations under 4 mayors, actually.
Right. Wow, 4 mayors.
Yeah, 4 mayors.
All right, you don't have a favorite, do you?
Well, I'm not going to say it on TV.
We'll talk about that later. So, like I said, I'm a hero in everyone's eyes, and take you back to that story when it all started.
Yes.
The faith and courage you have to relive that over and over again, for one, it's a wonderful thing. And so take us back to that day that changed your life forever.
Well, you're right. It was a life-altering event. On December 6, 1984, my 14-year-old daughter, Gloria Pointer, left home for school, and on the way to Harry Davis Junior High School, she was abducted, sexually assaulted, and beaten to death. Now, somebody might ask the question, why are you still talking about that after 40 years? Because it's hard to even believe it's been 40 years. But I can remember making a vow to her that, first of all, I was going to find out who murdered her. Her case remained unsolved for 29 years. Right. But it was during that time that my life took on a mission, and that was to try to stop other mothers from having to bury their children, to save the children. So I was more empathetic in my cause, and, like, we're going to just stop this, we're going to save the children. And along the way, it became a movement. And so even after her case was eventually solved, I just took up the mantle of another family. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the privilege to try to do something about it. People say evil can only prevail when good people do nothing. And so many times, people are waiting on somebody to do something. Right. When my mission in life is to empower people to be that somebody. Absolutely. When my daughter was murdered, I was inner city mother, and I kept looking for somebody smarter, prettier, wiser, and only to find out that I was the person I was looking for. So I'm trying to tell people, you are it, and to empower them to do something.
What kind of courage does that take? I remember being at a picnic, and I have twins, and I turned around and they were missing for like 2 or 3 minutes.
Scary,
wasn't it? My stomach sunk to the floor. How do you get through that feeling of day after day?
It's a parent's worst nightmare. And I do this not only locally, but nationally and internationally. I was just in Philadelphia a few weeks ago speaking to moms. I was just in Atlanta. So it's all over, that people don't realize it is your worst nightmare come to life. And just the fact that your children were missing for just a few moments, just the thought of it. So what I do is I pray a lot, and I trust God, and I lean on Him. A lot of people go to church, but I don't just go to church. I need Him.
Right. And he's talking about some strong faith in the fight that you put on for 30 years, and eventually you said finding out who did it. Tell us about that day. Well,
I'm sure that the person who murdered her thought that they were going to take it to the grave. They hadn't anticipated the vow and the promise that I made to Gloria there that day in the funeral home. As a matter of fact, to be honest, I didn't know it was going to take that long. Even on my weary days, I would just cry out to God, like, just tell me so we can put an end to this. But it was 29 years. But those 29 years served a purpose, because they helped to develop me into the person I am today. And thank God for DNA, because it was a DNA test that solved the case. And it's interesting about unsolved cases. And when I'm working with families whose cases are unsolved, I said, if it's any DNA anywhere, they can do it. But it's up to you to keep that in the presence of law enforcement and the media so that they can keep your child's memory alive.
Right. Now, how was it with the issues with trusting people? Sure, it's kind of hard to trust anybody.
Don't
Look at them and like, look, I know
because you don't know. You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that time, I was afraid of life.
Right.
Because there was a killer loose in the city. You know, I wrote a book, Behind the Death of a Child, and one of the poems in the book is called A Killer Loose in the City. So when you don't know who the murderer is, everybody looks like the murderer. So, you know, somebody said, well, you want to go to a movie? You're looking at them like this could be the killer, or can I come over for dinner? Or do you want me to pick you up for church? So that not knowing is just as catastrophic as the crime itself.
Right. Now, after that case was solved, you actually took it as far as to go meet him face to face. Tell us about the kind of courage that took.
Well, first of all, over the 29 years of searching for her killer, I started going into prisons because I figured if I go in there and do my victim's impact statement, that the killer would be in prison because he had to be a criminal. And he was in prison. He couldn't be walking around on the streets. So I thought if I tell my story that he would confess to me in secret. That didn't happen. But it did give me those 29, 30 years going into the institutions, meeting people who had done crimes who, to be honest with you, turned out to be victims too. It was just it was just something to see. But I would say to them, don't worry, I love you, and I understood the power of forgiveness. And I would say, I forgive you. And I thought, well, if you meet Gloria's killer, would you be able to do the same thing? So prior to even knowing who he was, I would just say, I forgive you. I forgive you. But I need to know who you are. And so when we got to the trial, and I said to him, I've already forgiven you. And I told him the story of Joseph and how his brothers meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. So I told him all the good things that had happened in Africa and the scholarships. So I was just ready to move on, when God, who has his own plan, said, no, I need you to go to the prison and talk with him. Not about Gloria. My initial conversation was about, how do you help me stop this? You know, what is it that we need to look for? What are we missing? Because clearly this is not a monster like I thought in my mind. It was a person with grandchildren and going to work every day. So now we don't look for, as they said, a forky-tailed devil. You might be looking for somebody that lives right next door to you with a suit and tie on. So I said, wouldn't you rather be known for the person that helped the mother of the girl you murdered versus just a murderer? He really couldn't comprehend my request, and he just spent a lot of time crying, and he never did answer. But I said, look, let's pray. And that's what we did. We just had a prayer, and I left.
That was your only contact?
Only contact, first and last. Yeah, and I say to people when they say, oh my God, you went to visit him? I'm not saying that I would invite him over for dinner or we have a love relationship, but I have forgiven him and I obeyed God. I went and I did what I was supposed to do.
It's incredible. Now, tell us about the good things that came in this. This curse and a blessing in disguise. What was one of the first things that came about that was good?
Well, I don't know if you all remember Lynn Tolliver, WZAK. Rest in peace. Lynn Tolliver and Ralph Poole were doing a thing called Stranger Danger. And they asked me to go with them. So we started going into schools, talking to children, giving them whistles. Like if you were abducted, blow the whistle and things like that. And so that was the first thing. So I started looking for somebody that could do something. I never thought it was me. So I went from Lynn Tolliver and Ralph Poole, and then I just started going into schools, going into prisons. I started acting as if I was the person until the real person showed up. I'm struggling with imposter syndrome. It can't be me, you know. I stay on the hood, you know. And so along the way, I became the person. Then I took down her rewards fund. established the Gloria Pointer Scholarship at John Hay High School. She wanted to go to John Hay so desperately. As a matter of fact, I was just at John Hay the other day, the 25th, it's been more than 25 years, giving out that scholarship. The criteria is not GPA based. I'm looking for a young lady who wants to go to college but has been impacted by violence.
Right.
Maybe you lost your mother, your brother, some kind of way violence has touched your life. And we are blessed to give a $2,000 annual scholarship. And some years, my interest on my fund, I'm able to give 5.
Wow.
Last year I gave 2. So we've done that. And then we started to work in Ghana, West Africa. Oh my God, y'all have to know that there is a God. A boy found a piece of paper on the ground of our Gloria in Africa.
In Africa.
In Africa. And he wrote me to say he was sorry to hear about her murder.
Wow.
And then he had a dream that he was supposed to start a movement in her name in Ghana, and he did.
Wow.
So for 5 years, I'm supporting the children financially, feeding them in her name, and they're going to school in her name, and they invited me to come to Ghana. They said, you need to come and see what's going on over here. I didn't know anything about Ghana, and so what? Again, I'm not the person.
Right.
Even though by this time I've gotten an Essence Award, been inducted into the Hard Women's Hall of Fame, been on Oprah, but it's not me. I'm telling you, I'm an imposter. So I won an award from Queen Latifah, and with that money, I went to Ghana and saw they had billboards with Gloria's name on it and T-shirts. And so I'm just crying, and I said, God, what do you want me to do here? And he said, build a school. So I don't know anything about building a school. I'm an imposter. I don't have any money. And met a chief in the village of Antonquois with Dr. David Whitaker. They gave me some land. And in 2 years, Errol, the school was built. Now, people say, well, where did you get the money? As a speaker, I speak publicly, I sell books. So all the money that was coming in, we were sending to Africa. Wow. And when we went back and opened that first school, because there's 5 schools now, there's a clinic, there's a library, there's a church, there's orphanages. Joy Billups, a city employee, just went with us to Ghana. I took 22 people back to Ghana in October. He was so impressed with the village and the work. He literally has built an art center in memory of his son. Wow. I told the people, I said, let me say something to you. You can do anything if you want to do it. So he said, well, how much would it cost? And I told him he couldn't believe it. And in 2 months, they went from nothing to a finished structure. Wow. And so now Joy Billups is going to start sending plays, and the kids there are going to do it. And this village has Gloria's name all over it. Let me tell you one important, it's incredible.
That is wild.
We send toys every year for Christmas.
Right.
And here you have this village with all of these little cute, beautiful African-American children in it, walking around with these blonde-haired doll babies. And I'm like, wait a minute, where's the African-American guy? What? And they didn't have any. Wow. So we built a doll house in the village and filled it with black baby dolls. Wow. So the children in the village can go in after school and play with the dolls. We have a library where we've sent books over. You would just have to see it. You have to go with us one time. You would love it.
Incredible. That is incredible.
It's incredible. It's a miracle.
It is. And right now with the technology and all that, are you moving that into the villages also?
Oh yeah, they have. Yes, absolutely. When they go live, they don't have the same networks that we have. But we just purchased a drone the other day. Joy Billups, thank you. So they have a drone now, and their internet is not strong as ours, but they still can talk to you on the phone. And Bob Ivory, I don't know if you know Bob, he took his students of promise, so we took 8 students, and so they're interactive. Listen, their meal may consist in these villages of 1 bowl of rice a day. And my message to Cleveland and to the world is our ancestors survived atrocities. So we can have all of this stuff. So we have an obligation to go back and help those children. So when we took the 8 kids, of course, they're used to Longhorn and Big Macs and McDonald's.
Right.
It's none of that stuff. So, you know, they came back feeling grateful. They're grateful. You know, if you can get a glass of Kool-Aid, you be grateful because they don't get that stuff. Yeah.
That is pretty.
Well, it's not like that everywhere in Ghana. I'm talking about, because Accra is definitely modernized,
Right.
but you still have people living in villages with no running water, no toilets, none of that stuff.
Wow. Now I remember when you made a statement that kind of put a spark in everyone. You said, if you see something, say something. Tell us about that.
Well, so many times people keep waiting on individuals to do something. They want the mayor, they want the governor, the president. But if you see something, say something. Maybe you know who committed a crime. I deal with so many families, Earl, that just want to know what happened to their child.
Right.
I can think right away about the Halton family and their amazing son, Stephen. It's been 10 years. He was on his way to work. He worked at Cleveland Clinic, taking lives and impacting them with new organs. And at the bus stop, just waiting on the bus, and was murdered. They want to know. Somebody knows. And they think, well, I'm not going to rat out my boy. I mean, come on, can you not give this family some peace? So if you see something, say something. You can even do it anonymously. You know, in, I believe it was one city I just saw on the news, a postal worker was murdered. And the U.S. Post Office has a $250,000 anonymous award. I'm like, I wish I knew who it was. I tell it. You know,
somebody.
not just for the money. Well, for the money, because I could do a lot in Africa.
Absolutely.
But if you see something, you can say something, even if you have to do it anonymously.
Absolutely. Now, talk about you having to regain trust, and then even with your faith, find out how to love again. And you found true love again because I see that band on your finger.
It found me. It found me because I was as far away from it as the East is the West. Right. When people say, well, how did you get married? I said, let me tell you how to do it. You do it by not wanting to do it.
Right.
I'm telling you. I had someone tell me years ago, they said it begins with a conversation. This is a true story. The pandemic happened and my granddaughter's grades started diminishing and I needed a tutor for her.
Right.
So someone introduced me to someone that can help her with her math who knew of me and my work. And she said, well, I have some books you can send to Ghana. And so I said, okay. So I met with her mom. We were getting the books. Never saw them before. And the mother said, are you married? And I'm like, what does that have to do with books? You know, I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, ask me that. Right. And so she said, well, I have the nicest brother. He was married 33 years. His wife died. I said, thank you, but no thank you. I'm content. See, contentment is a powerful weapon too. I said, I'm content. I do my work, I go home, I have peace in my house, no aggravation. I ain't got to look over my shoulder. She said, but he is so nice. I said, I'm sure. But this time I was a little perturbed. I'm like, why are you asking me?
Leave me alone.
Leave me alone. And then you know what she said to stop me in my tracks? She said, you can help him with his grief. And that's what I do. Right. Every day, all day. So I said, okay, I can talk to him. So we're having conversations about he and his deceased wife. Did you take your medicine? I'm not interested in him as a man. Plus, he lived in Alabama, and I lived in Cleveland. I'm not trying to get to you. I don't want you trying to get to me. Just, did you take your medicine? Did you go to grief counseling? And so we were just having conversations. And so that's how it started. I had no intentions of getting married, none. Wow. I had no intentions of going to Africa. My life is not my own. So we're celebrating over 2 years now. Wow. And I got to tell you, he is the nicest person, just like his sister said. And I was trying to push away my blessing. Right. And Well, I mean, we have challenges, but that's a part of life.
Yeah,
life is
right.
a part of, challenges are a part of life. So I'm excited. When I left home, he was washing dishes.
That's right.
Glory.
That's right.
And so we're both retired. We travel a lot.
Wow, that's awesome.
You know, we say, hey, let's go out to Seattle, or let's go here. You know, so we just decided that we're not going to do anything to intentionally hurt one another. And he knows my story. As a matter of fact, by living in Alabama, he didn't even know who I was. That was a blessing. You know, so I'm not trying to get with you, you know. So he doesn't care. He just cares. He likes it. I know how to make potato salad and cornbread.
All right.
You know, he's good old Southern gentleman, you know.
Now, all of us out there who hoped one day we might catch a glimpse of Oprah Winfrey, you got to meet her.
Yes.
And you all kind of formed a bond also.
Yeah.
So tell us about
Oprah.
Oprah.
Well, Oprah is an amazing humanitarian. And in my search to find out who murdered Gloria, I thought for certain if Oprah knew, because at that time she was the voice, this would help. So I just started writing Terry Moore at that time at Channel 5. I said, would you please get me to Oprah? And she wrote letters. This is what I want to say to people. If something is in your heart, don't let anyone take it away. It was 5 years after we wrote that letter that we got the call to come. And she was so warm and inviting. It didn't lead to the case being solved, but it did showed me that if you pursue it, it will come to pass. And she was just wonderful. She is wonderful.
Wow. And your story is, I mean, it's full of sad, it's happy, it's grief, there's triumph, and everything. And you are an incredible, powerful woman, and you are our hero.
Well, to God be the glory, because I want people to know I'm still the same person.
Absolutely.
And it's He that gives me strength, and I'm grateful for that. And when I think about Women's History Month, what greater gift can you have to leave a legacy? People get up every day and just live it. Don't you want to be remembered? Leave something behind that you have done to make this world a better place.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so now, what is your focus now? How can people contribute, help?
Hallelujah.
How can they
We're
get to
getting
you
ready to host a victims conference, trying to get 100 families who've been victimized by violence to attend the conference on April 20th. We're going to love on you, pour into you, and it's free. We're going to have gifts and books and speakers. So if you want to come to that, you can just inbox me or visit my website or email me. And we want you to come. We want to let you know that there's life after death. We want to try to put a connection to hope and the tragedy. So that's April 20th. You can call 216-999-8573. Give us your information. We will reach out to you. If you want something done in Africa in memory of your child, your loved one, if you want to say, well, you know what, I want to help you feed children, I will take your money, because there's a lot of them. We have a Cash App. We have a website, www.YvonnePointer.com. You can go on there through PayPal. If you want to go with me to Ghana, you can do that. So we want you to please be involved. And
Now that school's been going on for, how long has the school been open?
Oh my God, we opened it 2003. Wait, 2005.
Have any of those students continued education here in the States and got to come and meet you?
No, wouldn't
like
that be wonderful?
That would be awesome.
Wouldn't that be wonderful? Education there don't compare to education here. It is a big difference. When we went before, we took pencils and ink pens, and you got to think about it. Wooden desks with the slate on the wall with maybe 4 or 5 students at one bench. You know, so it would be my desire for Anthony Tay, the boy that found the piece of paper, to one day come to America. Awesome. I would love it. But can I say, they, even with what they don't have, they have more than what we do have.
Wow.
They have fellowship. They have sincere love. When we got ready to go into the Elmina slave dungeon, we were getting out of the car and our briefcases and things were on the car. seat. And I said to Dr. Whitaker, don't forget to lock the door because we're leaving our items here. He said, no one will touch it.
Wow.
He said, you can leave your wallet open on the seat and no one will touch it. Now you try that here. The Kia boy is gonna get
Right,
you.
the
Okay.
Kia boy get
So yeah, they have something. They can teach us all a lesson, what true value of life is, and that is love and appreciation, the commitment to do one another no harm. Right. Yeah. So people, listen. I need help. Inbox me. Call me.
What's the website?
www.yvonnepointer.com.
All right.
Or the number is 216-999-8573.
All right. Hey, I want to thank you so much. And I want to thank you by giving you my presents. You get a TV 20 pen
I
and a
love
beautiful
it.
elastic band for your arm.
Thank you. And shout out to Kathy Allen. I love her.
Yes, look, yeah, I'll tell you, I'm so inspired and so honored to be able to sit
you.
and talk to you. And thank you for sharing your story again to all of our viewers. And we continue to pray for you and your family and everyone. Please continue to live in the memory of Ms. Gloria Pointer.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
So, hey, thank you once again. And for Women's History Month, this is our hero that we are celebrating. And thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the City of Cleveland, TV 20, Kathy Allen, Mayor Justin Bibb, I'm Errol Porter. And this is History, Women's History Month. We'll see you next time.